E aloha, e ohana. Oh, greetings of great love. My family. It's practice time. It's practice time. It's practice time on my Saturday morning. It's practice time for us as a collective as we connect ourselves with integrity into our deepest values so that we can bring our most inspired selves to the conditions at hand, which are looking pretty interesting, to say the least. It's time to devote ourselves daily to the practice of coming home to our innate intelligence, to the clarity of mind, to the openness of heart, and to the groundedness of our bodies, dynamic, fluid, upright, powerful, sensuous truth. It's time. Many of my brothers and sisters are in a place of profound concern and fear right now. Many of our brothers and sisters are legitimately concerned about the fascism that is very clearly visible in the regime that is taking power right now in the United States. Just as all those people who voted for that regime had legitimate concerns about maintaining a status quo that seems to be carrying our country in a direction many people feel is pathological. So while there are many people who are afraid right now of what's happening with our regime, there are many people who are celebrating a sense of possibility that they haven't felt in a long time. Is anyone's experience illegitimate? I don't think so. But what is very clear to me is that each one of us is more powerful in our authentic fields of influence than any fucking governmental regime ever will be. Each one of us as a living, breathing embodiment of our deepest values is more powerful than any law ever could be made by man. Each one of us, as we sink deeper into the natural, organic intelligence which created us, a self-organizing intelligence that we see in fractal patterns throughout the universe, throughout all the forms of life on our planet. As we sink deeper into the holistic intelligence that made this body, and we transcend and include the dualistic intelligence that's battling it out inside this body, in our relationships, in our society, competing for something that is not scarce. Something that we'll all have more of when we actually collaborate, right? But how do we practice this? How do we practice this kind of collaboration? Well, it starts right here in the collaboration of our breath, our movement, and our thoughts. It starts right here in our daily practice of anchoring into the reality that is our most authentic reality and not getting sucked into the reality of this division game, of this politicization and polarization. Because I tell you what, fam, the only way that 1% of the people can control 99% of the resources is by making sure the 99% of the people are attacking each other. Hello? If you're polarized right now, I'm not asking you to change your opinion about anyone in particular. I'm asking you to take a broader look at what's happening. I'm asking you to really take a careful consideration of the larger implications of our society being divided against itself, while the rich keep sucking resources up the hierarchical pipeline and strip away freedoms from us, and keep pumping the population with absolute corrupt data in the form of social media and bought and paid for media manipulation. Pitting people against each other. I have friends on both sides who just think that everybody who voted for the other person is a fucking psychopath. That's how insane. That is insanity. If you believe that everybody who supported a different candidate than you did in this election is like a morally bankrupt person, or just a sheeple, or whatever judgment you have of them, if you believe that bullshit, then you have been corrupted. And that corruption, your susceptibility to that corruption is expressing itself in your own body, in the ways that you're divided against yourself, in the ways that your mind and your heart are going in different directions sometimes, in the ways that your gut and your mind are at odds, and your mind is trying to control your body instead of just leaning back and letting your body be its brilliant, beautiful, and most thriving self. You are a community. I am a community. In the community of my bones and my muscles and my blood and my breath, my organs, my brain, my neocortex and my hippocampus. This community, if this community is not coherent, then I am not going to be an agent of coherence in my relationships or my community. So we're here to practice. How do we practice it for these times? How do we practice when there's fear in the space? Well, we loosen up. We fucking relax. We don't relax by trying to force yourself to relax. Try that for a second. Come on. No. We relax by bringing more breath into the system. Slow, deep breath. If ever you have a hard conversation to have, if ever you find yourself rushing and you knock shit over, you stub your toe, if somebody says something to you that makes that clench happen in your gut, breathe, breathe, breathe. Don't stop breathing. Whatever you do, get more breath, but not like a hungry ghost, not like a give me more. No. That's for a different kind of energy that has its place in the great dance of the breath. But here, in our practice, we're learning how to slow down, how to soften. When you're scrolling on the Facebooks and you see that post that gets you riled up, connect with your heart. Come back to your body. If you're like this when you're gonna respond, that's gonna leak into the space, and it's going to amplify tension, not make it better. It's going to inflame the situation, not make it better. So we practice. We stay in our practice so that whatever contribution I'm making out there into the world, it's coming from a place of soft-hearted, empathetic, gentle, grounded, upright, and principled truthfulness. From love. We fundamentally resource ourselves in the field of love when we feel the field of fear pressing in on us. Because fear gonna try push you around. That's what fear does. And we've been violently trained by our society to be pushed around by fear. So don't just fucking listen to what I'm saying. Experiment. Get your shake on. Every animal, every dog, when they get up from a nap, just after we have a difficult interaction, I had to discipline my dogs for a moment. And just after the interaction, she got up, shook herself off, and I shook myself off. We shake it out. That's what mammals do. That's how we regulate our nervous system. But we've got decades of things we never shook out, bouncing around in these nervous systems. We've learned to actually believe the voice of fear and follow it as a baseline. We default to fear. This is the revolution, family. The revolution is recognizing how we have been programmed to default to following fear in our nervous system, in our mind, in our body, in our emotions, and thereby replicating trauma. The revolution is learning to recognize fear at its inception, and learning to resource into love, learning to resource into patience, learning to resource into gentleness and integral action. Action that has a stance, that has a grounded stance, but that remains dynamic and fluid in its response. Playful, creative, inspired. That's what we're learning how to do, fam. This is the revolution. It's an inner revolution. It's a holistic revolution of bringing all of the parts of ourselves to the table who have been in conflict and not talking to each other so kindly, not working together so collaboratively. For ho'oponopono, for conflict revolution, for reconciliation, to learn how to work together again in harmony. Because you have everything you need right here, right now. I have everything I need right here, right now. I don't have everything I want. I don't have everything I will need in time. But I have everything I need right now. We have all the conditions that we need right now to be staging a non-violent revolution that emerges from within us as we practice love, as we practice a regulated nervous system, as we learn how to meet fear with a gentle touch, with a smile, with an unwillingness to be pushed around by it, made to do things that we know are ultimately not good for anyone, even if they do feel kind of satisfying in the moment to do. If we don't know how to meet fear, we're fucked. If you don't know how to meet the fear that arises in the presence of big change, you're fucked. Because big changes are inevitable right now. It doesn't matter who's in political power. We can feel the earth changing. We don't have to fear that change. That change is actually on a very large time scale, at a great level of scope. That change is for everyone's benefit, I promise. But it's gonna shake up all the systems that we've created that are based on fear and scarcity. So if we're identified with fear and scarcity, that change is gonna come in and it's gonna threaten our identity. Nah, you ain't that. You are so much more than your fear. You're so much more than your rage. Your rage cannot accomplish a fraction of what your love will accomplish in this life. Cannot. Impossible. Rage destroys things. Love creates. Love gently dismantles things without wastage. Rage just blindly swipes, causes more problems than it fixes, always. So we're here practicing into love. And we practice into love right here in our bodies by starting to listen to the shape of our body, by practicing being an animal again. Relaxing the jaw, taking a breath in and shaking and letting some sound come out. If you just do this the whole time I'm talking, just let the sound that's in your body come out, whatever it is. Oh no, who's gonna hear me? Oh, hi, fear. It's okay. Doesn't matter who hears you, because you're doing this for yourself. And when you do this for yourself, you are much more resourced. You're much more relaxed. Your system finds a new baseline. We bend our knees. We got our knees bent. We're jiggling and bouncing. We're strengthening this whole base area here. Upright spine. We let our shivers roll through the body. We're shaking out all of this passive tension that builds up as an identity. All of this bracing for something that we don't know is coming. And we can cohere, letting our spine undulate. I'm just turning to the side so you can see it. Oh gosh. Engaging with the wave that's actually the built-in structure of our spine. Our spine is not straight. Nothing moves in a straight line around here anywhere except our mind when it's caught in duality. Nothing moves in a straight line around here anywhere except our thoughts when they're caught in an illusion. Because duality is a limited frame of reference that can only see opposing forces. The binary. But that binary exists within a whole. And that scope of the wholeness that includes the binary, it doesn't wipe the binary away. It doesn't wipe masculine and feminine away as though they're irrelevant. No. It helps them to dance more coherently within the whole. This is holism. This is holism. A holistic perspective, a holographic perspective. Seeing the interconnectedness of all the parts of the wholes and all of these nested holes within holes within holes, holes within holes, going on and on, eternally. Eternally wider and eternally tinier. Holism, embracing the dualities, embracing fear in a wider scope of love. And one of the ways that I train myself to work with fear, one of the ways that I train myself to become a safe harbor for fear is through intensity practice. Through learning to slow down and feel the physiological intensity while maintaining a gentle breath and a loving attitude towards myself. And I want to show you what that can look like. Because it can be counterintuitive. But it's like this. I get in my push-up posture. And I exhale gratitude. Thank you. Nice and slow. And I inhale love. I love you. Thank you. And it doesn't matter what I'm thinking or who I'm thanking. I love you. Thank you. What matters is that I stay with the discomfort. And I keep going, nice and slow. We've all been violently trained to hurry in the presence of discomfort. And we're having to retrain our whole nervous system and how to remain present and how to keep a smile on our face in the presence of the fucking intensity. We just keep at it. And it gets more and more uncomfortable as we go. But this is the price of love, fam. To be able to face our discomfort for the right reasons, with a loving attitude. If you can't face your own push-ups with a loving attitude, there's no way you're gonna face your persecutor with a loving attitude. And every time I do a push-up, I strengthen my body. Doesn't matter how many you do. Have a goal, but it doesn't matter how many you do. Thank you. I love you. Oh, it's starting to get difficult. You start to shake, that's good. That's the tremor coming through. Let yourself shake. Let yourself feel a little out of control. Let yourself feel the emotions. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Oh gosh. This struggle. Thank you. Thank you. I love you. Thank you. I love you. This is it. It's that simple. This is the holistic soul fitness practice. It doesn't matter what physical exercise you do. It can be push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges. Doesn't matter. As long as your form is in integrity with the organic shape of the body. As long as your movement is slow and careful so as not to disrupt the integrity of your structure and it doesn't exceed your current capacity to remain in integrity physically. And as long as you keep breathing, a full inhale on the way down or up and a full exhale on the way down or up, you experiment with that part. I have my habits. Usually I inhale and exhale love. That's the main habit. Inhale gratitude, exhale love. Inhale gratitude, exhale love. Right there to the place that's uncomfortable, right there in your shaking, right there in your intolerance for your own weakness, right there in your frustration at trying and not being able to do more. This is an integral practice, and we shake it out. We shake it out. We get all swollen, we get the blood pumping. We're warming up the body, warming up the heart. This is the practice of love. If you can't do this in the privacy of your own practice, how are you going to go out into the world and be the love that is needed most in the places where it's needed most? This is the cultivation of a warriorship, of a revolutionary form of warriorship, which is a non-violent warriorship, which is absolutely clear that any form of violence is antithetical to peace. Any form of violence is antithetical to love, and that I am only pushed into a violent reaction to the extent that my practice is not sufficient to keep me anchored in love. And that there is no external force that can harm me. It may be able to do damage to me. It may even be able to destroy this body. But no force from outside of me can take my love away from me. No force outside of me can make me collapse in the face of difficulty. No force outside of me can take from me what I, in my sovereign truth, do not give it. Nah. Once we realize that our freedom is deeply enmeshed with our capacity to anchor into our sovereign truth, and that no amount of pressure, no amount of threat, no amount of dangling a carrot of reward, of some kind of wealth, none of that can actually corrupt your truth. Only you can do that by capitulating to that pressure. But the truth is love. And if the truth ain't love, it ain't the truth. And if the truth ain't lovingly expressed, even if powerfully and carefully and protectively expressed, then it ain't love. It ain't truth. And if the love don't have a spine, if the love don't have a spine to stand up in the presence of non-love and be love, then it's not love. It's not the highest expression of love. And we're here to cultivate the highest, most beautiful, divinely organic expression of love that this one body can express in the world. We're here to become a dancing molecule of love in the world, aren't we? I mean, what more beautiful thing is there? Do you want to be protected? Do you want to be somebody's savior? Or do you just want to be love wherever you are? It is my holistic understanding that love is superior to fear in every way. It is my holistic understanding that only by following the sometimes very uncomfortable guidance of love are we going to have any chance of transmuting the great momentum of fear in our society. Only through an absolute devotion to the path of love are we going to stage a regenerative revolution that restores the balance of things with a capital B. Because I'll tell you what, the 1% of the most selfish people on the planet controlling 99% of the resources is not balanced. There is no way the system can balance itself under those conditions. Impossible. No. Nature is distributive, not accumulative. Nature just distributes the resources throughout the ecosystem as needed. That creates a thriving ecosystem. As soon as one species becomes selfish and clever enough to carry out its selfishness to the detriment of the rest, then we have damage to the ecosystem. Cannot thrive in the presence of a single selfish species, invasive species. Oh, so we the gardeners, fam. We're the gardeners. And the first garden is this garden right here. And when we keep it moving, when we keep it breathing, when we practice into our love at all times, remaining fluid, tracking when we start to get tense and giving ourselves the nourishment of our own practice to restore a sense of ease in the nervous system, to restore a relaxed belly, to restore an open heart, to restore a clear mind, which is inspired and creative rather than contracted and reactive, defensive. Nothing to defend here, family. Love has nothing to defend. Love just is here to express itself beautifully in every moment. Beautifully. If it ain't beautiful, it ain't love, team. We gotta reorient ourselves to what beauty is. and get out of the culturally programmed notions of beauty to understand beauty. But love is beautiful. The revolution will be beautiful. This revolution that's happening inside of me, that's been really in full steam ahead for the last 3 years, oh, it's beautiful. Oh, it's difficult. It makes it difficult for me to connect in with groups and communities which are still fundamentally running programs of fear, running programs of exploitation, running programs of imbalance and injustice. And that's every community I've ever been in. So where do I go? Well, I come back to my practice. I resource myself and I step back in to be whatever agent of love, of freedom, of divine mischief that I am called to be in the moment. And the moment that I find myself under-resourced again, then I get to step away, maybe just for 5 minutes, maybe for 5 days, to resource myself and come back to my heart. And when I'm back in my heart, when I am restored in my own space of internal dynamic tensegrity, that's right, not limp and not rigid, but relaxed, sitting in my structure, leaning into the original organic integrity, the way my body moves in spirals, the way all of my joints are designed to move in spirals, not straight lines, spirals. Everything's spiraling again. My DNA spiraling again in joy. My DNA spiraling in creative playfulness. My DNA spiraling in curiosity. Oh, that, my friends, that's the conditions for me to be an agent of love in the world. So we're learning at a very intimate level how to remain resourced in love. I pray that we're all learning this. I pray that we're all studying this. And there are people we can learn from out there, but all they can do is point us at experiments that we can do inside of ourselves. Because nobody can learn this from a book or a fucking video. But you can be inspired to your experiment. You can be guided in a direction to try something new and see how it works. Because if you keep running the patterns that you've been running, you're gonna end up where those patterns are designed to take you. In order for us to create a brand new, more beautiful, more loving, equitable, and just future for ourselves, for our most intimate relationships, for our communities, and for our larger society, we're gonna have to do a whole bunch of things we've never done before, fam. And it's uncomfortable because we suck at new things. Part of doing a new thing is that you suck at it and you want to return to your place of competence. But most of our realms of competence are in areas that are actually detrimental to our well-being. What's the evidence? What evidence can we look for? Well, the evidence of fear is degeneration. How's your body feeling? Are you able to run and dance and play and move? Are you making excuses of being too old or being too this or being too that? Are you practicing into your very edge of embodiment? Because a holistically thriving body is a body that it's dynamic, it's strong, it can move what it needs to move without hurting itself. It can do what it needs to do and what it wants to do, what delights it. What? It's a body that just plays through life. It's a body that is unlimited, unconstrained by any social notions of appropriateness, but is deeply, organically constrained by an actual intuitive understanding of boundaries, Are you thriving physically? Are you thriving at your zenith physically? Are you thriving? Are you somewhere along the way to that zenith? Because the more I thrive, the farther out the horizon gets for me. I don't even know anymore what's possible for a truly holistically thriving body. I'm pretty sure there's no limit. But a truly holistically thriving body is part of a holistically thriving heart. The astral body, they call it in the tradition. The feeling body. The desire body. Are you thriving emotionally? Are you feeling the emotions of love, of ecstasy, of wonder, of deep, tender grief in the right moments? Can you feel the grief? Can you feel your fear? Or are you numb to these things and instead reacting out into the world so as not to have to feel them yourself? A thriving heart can include everything, anything. There's nothing that an open, thriving heart cannot welcome, no feeling. Some of those feelings come in to be food, to be transmuted, digested, and pooped out. And nutrients extracted from. Fear is actually a really powerful super nutrient when we understand how to digest it emotionally, physically, and mentally. Because digestion is happening throughout the systems of the body. The physical body digests food, it digests air, it digests light. The heart digests emotional experiences. It digests desires and inclinations. It digests the emotional tonalities that it encounters. The mental body is constantly digesting information. And a healthy digestion knows what is the poop and what is the nutrient, right? So simple. And the soul is digesting the holistic experience of our tribe, of our sort of the trinity of our body, heart, and mind. We're digesting ancestral karma. We're digesting stories of our ancestors we don't even know, that are impulses within our own body that we don't even know are actual corruptions of the organic hardware. We are digesting. Everything is digesting something. And we can learn how to digest and transmute anything. We are here to digest and transmute the corrupt systems that we have been born into. We're here to digest and transmute capitalism into a more beautiful and favorable economy that allows for the thriving of everyone involved. We're here to digest and transmute all of this racial tension and ancestral violence that shows up very personally and intimate in our own bodies and relationships, and that we can also witness in the larger fractals within which we are embedded. We're here to holistically digest. We're here to connect with the greater field of possibility than our senses can grasp tangibly. We're here to ally ourselves with the forces which are trustworthy, like the force of love, the force of truth, which just tells the truth, doesn't hide anything, and does not fuck around with lies at all. It doesn't get mad and attack lies. It just simply says, bullshit. I will not ingest that nutrient. That goes into the compost. Right? So we must learn to feed our bodies healthy movement, healthy food, integral, organic, alchemical somatics. This is what I am currently calling this movement practice. Alchemical somatics. You don't have to know what you're doing. I can take you through a day-long journey of discovering the mysteries within every organ and connection point in your body. There's just an infinite field of discovery inside of us. But really, it's up to you. It's up to you to do the experiments, to come back, to not get stuck in your old pattern, to be willing to be uncomfortable, to be honest with yourself that you have not been holistically loving your body. Because because your body is the way that it is right now. And I look around and I don't see very many people holistically thriving. Very, very, very few people. It's a whole relative scale. And there are a lot of people who are living closer to the polarity of holistic thriving than other people. But I just feel like an animal walking around a bunch of other animals who are walking around inside cages, whose posture is so antithetical to their thriving, whose breath pattern is so antithetical to their thriving, whose attention is in places that are not conducive to thriving, whose emotional set point is indicative of a lack of deep emotional sensitivity and attunement and integral practices of digesting our emotional experience. This is just the individual practice, because this is the revolution, fam. This is it. It's here. We are it. We cannot wait until the next generation. Things are afoot right now that are tipping points. And if we allow those tipping points, we don't want to find out what happens. But if we show up for this moment, whether you're for the current regime or not for the current regime, if we all show up in this moment as agents of love, of honesty, of open dialogue, compassion, curiosity, as agents of harmony and unity, finding the ways that we actually do agree with those who we may have voted differently than, finding the concerns that we can all agree about. If we can be that agent within our direct field of influence, then all of these abstract forces will crumble. They can't survive in that environment. But it feels really scary, just like it feels scary to do a movement or to make a sound that I have been programmed my whole life is inappropriate or makes people uncomfortable. Just as I'm afraid of doing that in my own body, even though it's not threatening anyone, even though it's actually nourishing to my physicality and to my emotional being. Just like I'm afraid to do that, we are afraid to change. We're afraid to express a healthier vitality. We're afraid to collectively dissociate ourselves and disavow the practices and systems of a degenerative cultural milieu. Because it feels very secure, even though it's fucked up. At least I can trust that I'll have food tomorrow and a roof over my head. Maybe. That's the story. But right now, there's a centralization and a greater and greater control of the food supply, greater control of the water supply, of the energy supply. And if you don't think that they're gonna use that to manipulate us at some point, if you think that those leverage points aren't gonna be used against our freedoms when the time comes, then I think you might reconsider history. I think you might take a good look at how colonization has managed to consume the entire global economy through weapons, through technologies that pretend to make life easier, but actually favor the accumulation of resources in the hands of the few, and by diseases, by spreading diseases that wipe out populations and frighten people into giving away their freedoms, and through alcohol and addictive substances. So that's how colonization works. And that's just our society. That's just what we take for granted now. But none of that was here in our indigenous roots. We didn't have those weapons of destruction. We didn't have nearly that level of warfare and territorial disputes because everybody had enough. We didn't have these diseases running rampant, degenerating, wiping out populations. And we didn't have this institutionalized deadening and numbing of the heart and soul through alcohol, through alcohol and far more dangerous pharmaceutical chemicals getting pumped into the population of human beings to our detriment and to the great profits of the pharmaceutical companies, who would be out of business, will be out of business as soon as we embrace our capacity for holistic health and thriving. We'll be out of business because we won't need a fraction, maybe less than 1/10 of the pharmaceutical pharmacopoeia anymore, because we recognize it as actually degenerative. Out of business also because we will see behind the curtain of the wizard, who is through one hand pumping our society with all kinds of foods that sicken us, all kinds of media that frighten us, and all kinds of economic pressures that make us feel like we have to do things for work and money that we don't really want to do. And then with the other hand, are you unhappy? Let me fix that. Oh, is your body rebelling against this diet? Let me give you something to fix that. Oh, just pills, chemicals that are actually increasing the acceleration of the degeneration of the human body and our systems. When we embrace our holistic vitality, which is our primordial birthright, before America, before any religion, before any ethnicity, more primordial than any race, more primordial even than our gender, is our humanity, our belonging in an organic substrate which provides for all of our needs to thrive, not just to survive. That's a fucking colonizer story about what it was like before colonization. Don't buy it. But we're not here to go back. We can't go back. We're here to synthesize and integrate. We're here to take the polarities that are present and synthesize them into a more organic and thriving whole. We're not here to fight each other for relevance. There's no way that you can convince me that two people fighting against each other can accomplish more for the community than two people working together for common cause. That math is just axiomatic. And as long as we continue to let ourselves be thrown at each other in political division, in war, in this fucking artificial battle of the sexes, in this whole notion of you have to fight and compete to be able to pass on your genes. Man, if we keep buying into this illusion and we keep feeding into this, we all lose. We all die young. We all pour our lives into meaningless fucking endeavors. Can you imagine? Can you imagine living 80 years having spent 50 of them working for Facebook? Like, Really? Can you imagine the just fucking gaping hole in a person's soul when they recognize that they've spent countless hours of their lives and energy helping to destroy the fabric of human society, of human fellowship, true human fellowship? Everybody who works at Facebook is going to have to face that at some point, unless you face it sooner and either become an agent for something significant to change within that organization, or you step into a different vocation. This is real talk, fam. We're talking about massive social changes that are available to us in this time, but only to the extent that we're willing to risk the comforts that are provided by our captor. We have to risk all the comforts in order to gain the precious discomfort of an ecstatic and thriving community, a loving, equitable community. And we do that. We make ourselves capable of that through our practice. And you don't have to do it for an hour every day. You can do it for 20 minutes a day. Do it for 5 minutes a day. For God's sake, just do it. But if you don't have 20 minutes, if you don't have a half hour, if you don't have 1 hour in the 16 that you're awake that are just for you, who are they for? And do you think you're actually better at serving whatever else you think you're serving when you're not taking care of you? Is that math really making sense to you? You're worth an hour of your time every single day. Your creativity, your vitality, your wellness, the depth of your breath. Oh, it's worth it. You're worth it. You're worthy of your love. You're the first one who must receive your love every day. Nobody else is going to get the best of you if you haven't given it to yourself first. And there are conditions under which there's distress and you have to go and take care of that, of course. But over the span of your life, building the rhythm, building that level of commitment to loving your own inner coherence first, so that you can step into your life as an agent of coherence. Yeah, that's what this is about. That's what the alchemical somatics are about. That's what this holistic transmission is about. Feeding our bodies, feeding our hearts, and feeding our minds. Nourishing food. What is nourishing food for your mind, huh? Beauty is nourishment. Oh. Things that are a clear signal. Things that are truth. Archetypally true things. Most scriptures are actually nourishment for the mind and body. When imbibed with a sense of discernment. Listening to the teachers talk. Whoever your teachers are, the Christian mystics. Listening to Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys transmission, which is what I do daily. Listening to Terence McKenna and Ram Dass. This is nourishment for your mind. And listening to people who are speaking in a balanced way about the actual challenges that we face in our society today, who aren't demonizing anybody, who aren't pointing fingers at anybody and making anybody the evil bad guys who have to be destroyed, because that is not nourishment for the mind, not the holistic mind. What's nourishment for the heart? Oh, hugs. Oh, hugs are nourishment for the heart. How many hugs have you gotten today? I should say, how many hugs have you given today? Because that's the amazing thing about a hug. Is most people you have to give, you have to offer that hug. And when you do offer that hug and you give that hug, you're simultaneously receiving a hug. And if you know how to give a hug, really give a hug, then even somebody who doesn't quite know how to receive or give a hug, Oh, they'll settle in and they'll be like, oh, okay, all right. And then all of a sudden you're in a nourishing exchange with someone. The revolution is going to stockpile arms for hugs. That's the only kind of arms we need in this revolution. Arms for hugs and arms for chop wood, carry water, grow food, feed family, shelter the children. That's the only arms we need. It has been prophesied that all of our swords will be beaten into plowshares. This was not a fantasy. This is prophecy. We have carried this prophecy and repeated this prophecy generation after generation, but every generation was like, well, maybe next generation. Are you going to be that generation? Maybe next generation. Or are you going to pick up your sword and beat it into plowshares right now and start the careful work of making sure everybody has enough? Because that's the revolution. The revolution doesn't take from anyone. It just gathers what we need and distributes our enoughness. What's nourishment for the body? Well, you know what's nourishment for the body. First of all, nice deep breath. What's nourishing for the body is movement. Healthy, integrous, organic, coherent movement. What's nourishing for the body is playing with the spine to make sure that it's so supple and so dynamic. What's nourishing for the body, of course, is plenty of clean water every day. Is food that is deeply nourishing. The right balance of proteins and complex carbohydrates and probiotic fibers and omega oils, etc., etc. And to some part of the ego, only giving the body what nourishes it feels like some sort of deprivation. Oh gosh. But the body only needs the right amount of nourishment, and it is not nearly as much as most people are piling into these bodies because they don't know how to actually digest. Body needs our love pouring into it. Thank you, I love you. Thank you, I love you. The body needs our appreciation. Oh, nourishing to every cell. Thank you. I can feel it like a warm golden light just pouring into every one of my cells as I say it. Can you try it? Thank you. Oh, I love you. The body needs touch. Touch is essential. And if you don't have someone to touch you, you can touch yourself. You can rub your sweet little belly. You can put a hand on your heart. The body needs love. The body needs discipline as well. The body needs to hear, no, honey, you can't have that. No. I know it looks like it's gonna be good, but it's not. No, thank you. I love you. Oh, we're learning, and we get to learn, and we get to make mistakes, and we get to have this great expanse of better and better and better out in front of us. And that doesn't mean that we're somehow less than. It's not coming from a place of scarcity. It's coming from a place of radical abundance that it can get even better and better. And we must embrace can. Get rid of the word can't. Just try it for a day. Notice every time you use the word. And replace it with a more accurate statement. I can't do this. Oh, I haven't figured out how to do this yet. I can't run a mile. I haven't gotten to the point in my practice where I can run a mile yet. I can't play the guitar very well. I am learning how to play the guitar better and better all the time. Sorry, I can't come to your party. No, I'm actually prioritizing something else with my time and energy. But thank you for the invitation. I love you and I hope it's wonderful. You can. Whatever you set your heart and mind to with enough devotion, you can. You can have a thriving body. You can have a body that fucks like a god or goddess. You can have a body that orgasms like you just can't even imagine, I promise you. Oh, it's one of the places where my practices have been particularly rewarding for myself and for my beloved. You can. You can't control it. You can cultivate it. You don't own it. It's not yours. If you treat it like it's an object that you own, you are going to bring a degenerative attitude to it. If you treat it like a resource that is yours to steward and care for, that you are responsible, 100% responsible, the only one who is responsible for making sure that this garden is flourishing, well then, you have a chance. Can. Oh, so here we are, in our learning, in our growth together, in our practice together. I'm gonna do some squats, because I love it. Because every squat I do is an act of love that gives me an opportunity to be uncomfortable for all the right reasons. Thank you. Every squat I do gives me a chance to flood my body with gratitude and love. Every squat I do deepens and lengthens my breath. Every squat I do in proper form and function increases my core strength, increases my mobility, and reinforces my inner coherence. It also connects me to my Mother Earth as I draw the mana up from the center of the earth, and I plant myself. And I grow. Planting myself in the living, breathing intelligence of the earth. Thank you, Mama. I love you, Mama. Letting it burn. Thank you. Do you really have something better to do with your time? Is the thing other than this really more important? Do you really not have time? Or are you just prioritizing other things? The thing about our holistic transmission, the thing about living an embodied holistic life, is that I gotta walk places, and there's a way to walk which is not holistically functional, which is not contributing to my thriving. And there's a way to walk with a little dance in my step, my shoulders back and open with my spine supple. There's a way to walk that is actually regenerative. There's degenerative walking and regenerative walking. You gotta walk either way. I gotta sit, right? Well, there's degenerative sitting and there's regenerative sitting. There's a regenerative sitting practice, which is every time my ass is on something, I'm on my throne. My spine is supple and erect. I can be typing. I can be on a Zoom call with somebody. And it can be subtle. Maybe it's just in the practice of the breath. But every time I'm sitting, whether at my desk or in the car while I'm driving, I am engaged in a regenerative practice. When I'm lying down in my bed, whatever posture I am in a regenerative practice. Whatever move I'm making, I aim for the regenerative bullseye, and I miss it all the time. What's up, cousin?
Hey. Got some Chinese food.
Got some Chinese food. All right. So this is the practice. This is how I practice. This is what I'm inviting all of us into. Come practice with me. Even on these videos, if you come live and in person, things take on a whole other level of dimensionality. It's good. It feels good. It leaves the body sore in a good way. It strengthens the body's integrity, beauty. And it strengthens my capacity to be a revolutionary agent of love in the world when this world is needing love more desperately than I've ever seen this world need love. This world is needing my agency as a force of repair, as a force of harmony, as a force of holistic integrity, as a force of compassion and radical self-responsibility. This is the world that I am practicing my way into more and more deeply all the time. And I ask you to join me, please. Please, for the sake of our grandchildren's children. Please. We are the generation. Now is the time. And the revolution starts right here in our own morning practice and radiates out from there. And if you need help building this practice, if you need Zen, thank you. Aole. Come here. If you need help cultivating a vision for your life and cultivating these practices, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. Reach out to me. Let's find out how we can share what we have for our mutual benefit. Let's do it. We got this, fam. Be on the lookout for more videos. They're coming. Aloha. Aloha.